Shalom and greetings. We welcome you to this week's Sabbath message. This week's Sabbath message is entitled, Why Do Christian Teachers and Leaders Study? Why do Christian teachers and leaders study? Now, at first blush, this question may seem asinine, ridiculous, because the answer is self-evident. But let us adjust the aperture, the vantage point. Allow us to look at the question and remove such filters as assuming to already know the answer to why Christian teachers and leaders are studying, as well as the indoctrination of our perception of Christian teachers and leaders, and the filter of presuming we already know what the actual results are of the studying being done by Christian teachers and leaders. Now, this is not an all-inclusive list of filters that could be removed, but we will limit it to these three for this message/episode. So let us now reconsider the question by first establishing a general consensus of the purpose of study. So let us establish a general consensus of the purpose of studying first. And then we'll build on that by understanding the role of Christianity indoctrination on how we view Christian teachers and leaders. And lastly, utilizing what we've come to understand from the previous two to analyze the end results of the studying being done by Christian teachers and leaders. So let us begin with the general consensus of the purpose of studying. The general consensus. And that is that there should be some byproduct, some benefit gained from studying. That's the general consensus, that you study because there's some byproduct or benefit gained from studying. When examining the purpose and benefit or byproduct gained from studying, this is some of the rationale that is given if you were to look this up. When searching for a purpose for studying, you're likely to find reasoning such as, studying is a critical skill that is not just dedicated to education. It is also a vital skill in day-to-day life. So now we've come to the general consensus of the purpose of studying is that there should be some byproduct, a benefit gained from studying. And then when examining the purpose and benefit or byproduct gained from studying, we see that there's information such as the studying is a critical skill that is not dedicated to education. It is also a vital skill in day-to-day life. So think about this. There's nothing more day-to-day than trying to live adhering to Yahweh Elohim's commandments, laws, and statutes, making studying a vital skill. Now, in looking for benefits, byproducts gained from studying, some of the rationale given is studying builds knowledge and understanding of the subject being studied, and in addition to, can assist with preparing the studier for future events and or actions. Other advantages, results of studying are, it helps develop problem-solving skills. It hones the skill of being a critical thinker, being able to see both sides of an issue and weighing the pros and cons before making a decision. Other assets, consequences of studying are being able to communicate effectively, to be able to express your ideas clearly and concisely, as well as being a good listener and being able to understand the perspective of others. So, the general consensus of what the purpose and benefits, the byproducts gained from studying for Christian teachers and leaders should be to, one, purposefully build knowledge and understanding of the scripture, which would equate to the Christian teachers and leaders studying having equipped themselves to be able to bring clarity to the scripture by providing substantiated, verifiable knowledge from the scripture to assist with the understanding of confusing and mistaught issues. So that's one of the things that studying should have done for the Christian teachers and leaders. The second, two, resolutely preparing themselves to understand and be able to address future events and or actions, which would assist Christian teachers and leaders in being able to explain forthcoming events and or actions and bring peace with their validated and proven knowledge from the scripture. Addressing what the scripture shares about the future and provide understanding to deliver peace for today's uncertain and tumultuous times. It's the second thing. The third thing, determinedly develop problem solving and critical thinking skills, which would result in Christian teachers and leaders being able to present the corroborated, confirmed scriptural characteristics of both righteousness and iniquity and share the consequences of both. And then the last thing, the fourth thing that we talked about that the Christian teachers and leaders should have gained from their studying is to dedicate themselves. The fourth thing, dedicate themselves on improving their communication and listening skills. Consequently, resulting in Christian teachers and leaders comforting their listeners with communications that are instructive, sharing enlightening information that is directly from the scripture, as well as being able to hear those that are searching and seeking to find scriptural truth and peace. Now, let us explore the impact. That's the first thing one of the filters we were looking at is to assume that we already know the answer. And so those are some of the things we would have to address is getting that byproduct. What is it that we should be gaining? And so now we want to explore the impact of the role of Christianity indoctrination on individuals' thought process of Christian teachers and leaders. So first, allow us to understand the definition, the meaning of the word indoctrination. The Merriam-Webster's dictionary defines indoctrination as to imbue, saturate with a usually partisan or sectarian denominational opinion, point of view, or principle. Now, the Britannica Dictionary gives a more simplified definition or meaning of the word indoctrination. It says to teach someone to fully accept the ideas, opinions, and beliefs of a particular group, and to not consider other ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Just hear what we're saying. Do not even consider other ideas, opinions, and beliefs. That's what indoctrination is. That's what it means. So understanding the word indoctrination is critical in being able to understand the role of Christianity indoctrination. Christianity indoctrination is at the core of the American culture and has been successful in integrating into the majority of the cultures of the world. As we've grown to understand, indoctrination is all about promoting the ideas, opinions, and beliefs of a particular group, and to not consider any other ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Now, there is no group that does a better job of indoctrinating than Christianity. Because Christianity uses religion, politics, entertainment, media, and education in all the cultures it is active in to indoctrinate. Now, we've addressed this in previous episodes and messages as being the operators used by the Worldwide Secular Propaganda Campaign, the WWSPC. So, Christianity indoctrination has a very significant and impactful role upon all that are exposed to it, especially those that call themselves Christians. Significantly impacting their perspectives, opinions, and beliefs. Now, one area that we have called out that is impacted by Christianity indoctrination is how Christian teachers and leaders are viewed. Christianity indoctrination has the perspective, opinion, belief of most that call themselves Christians regarding Christian teachers and leaders as being righteous, holy, messengers of Yahweh Elohim. Now, it is of paramount importance that we do not underestimate the power of Christian indoctrination. We have now received a general understanding of the purpose and benefits, byproducts gained from studying, and the role of Christianity indoctrination of how Christian teachers and leaders are viewed. So equipped with these, we can now assess and analyze the results of the impact of Christian teachers and leaders studying by way of those they are presenting their findings to. So we're going to get the results as it is presented, and we're going to do it by way of how they present it to those that are following them. Now, if we consider the results, the byproducts gained from the knowledge and understanding the Christian teachers and leaders should have from their studying, they should be able to check the box on the aforementioned purpose and benefits of studying. So, Christian teachers and leaders should be able to bring clarity by providing substantiated, verifiable knowledge from the scripture to assist with the understanding of confusing and mistaught issues. Explain and bring peace with their validated and proven knowledge of what the scripture addresses about the future, and provide understanding to deliver peace for today's uncertain and tumultuous times. Reveal the corroborated, confirmed scriptural characteristics of both righteousness and iniquity, and share the consequences of both. Communicate instructive, enlightening scriptural information that is comforting to their listeners, as well as hearing those that are searching and seeking to find scriptural truth and peace. Now remember, we said we were going to remove the aforementioned filters. So let us now assess each of the benefits, byproducts that should have been achieved by the Christian teachers and leaders from their studying, having those filters removed. So in regards to them bringing clarity, providing substantiated, verifiable knowledge from the scripture to assist with the understanding of confusing and mistaught issues, Christian teachers and leaders are found lacking. There is far too much confusion and misteachings, so much so that many people that proclaim themselves to be Christians believe there are contradictions in the scripture. Let me say this again. Many people that proclaim themselves to be Christians believe there are contradictions in the scripture. So think about this. Think about how can Christian teachers and leaders teach indoctrinated, think about for a moment how the Christian teachers and leaders teach, indoctrinate something that they claim to be true if verity, the truth, is in doubt. How do you do that? How do you teach verity? How do you teach truth if truth is actually in doubt, with many of the people proclaiming themselves to be Christians believing there are contradictions in the scripture? So that's one. So looking now at Christian teachers and leaders explaining and bringing peace with validated and proven knowledge of what the scripture addresses about the future and events to come, and providing understanding to deliver peace for today's uncertain and tumultuous times, it is showing deficient. As we just stated, many people that proclaim themselves to be Christians believe there are contradictions in the scripture. The explanations given about the future and events to come are not proving to be supported by scripture, and is not establishing peace even amongst Christian believers. Thirdly, concerning the Christian teachers and leaders revealing the corroborated, confirmed scriptural characteristics of both righteousness and iniquity, and sharing the consequences of both, this is clearly missing. Adamant statements shared in the scripture about both righteousness and iniquities are now open to debates among Christian teachers and leaders, and are even attempted to be explained away altogether by men, not even using the scripture in their explanations. Lastly, 4, Christian teachers and leaders communicating instructive, enlightening, scriptural information that is comforting to those listening, as well as being able to hear those that are searching and seeking to find scriptural truth and peace. This as well is flawed. Something to think about here. The instructive and enlightening scriptural information given by the Christian teachers and leaders that have studied, get this, think about this, is already known at the macro level by their audience. Let me say this again. Let me make sure you catch this. The instructive and enlightening scriptural information given by Christian teachers and leaders that have studied is already known at the macro level by their audience. And the majority of their audience have not studied at all. Something to think about. As we have examined the evidence of what the Christian teachers and leaders should be able to accomplish from their studying, they do not earn a passing grade. Notice, the Christian teachers and leaders did not pass any of the identified benefits, byproducts of studying. So, this question as to why Christian teachers and leaders study has not been answered. And we see that the question is not as foolish, self-evident as it may have first appeared. We started off looking at this question from a secular lens, utilizing worldly philosophy and rationale. So let us now grow and move from just knowing to understanding about the scriptural responsibility and purpose of studying, as well as the benefits, byproducts gained. But still not allowing filters to distort what the scripture is really saying. Continuing not to assume to already know the answer to why Christian teachers and leaders study. Acknowledging the indoctrination of our perception of Christian teachers and leaders. And not presuming we already know what the actual results are of the studying being done by the Christian teachers and leaders. Allow us to turn to the scripture. For it to explain to study is a mandate, an instruction the Apostle Paul shares in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. So let us read 2 Timothy 2:15. It reads, "Study to show thyself approved unto Elohim, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth." Now, the Apostle Paul plainly shares the scriptural purpose of studying and the benefit, the byproduct gained from studying. The purpose of studying is to be approved by Elohim. And the benefit, the byproduct, is to be able to rightly divide the word of truth. So, let us once again assess the spiritual benefits, byproducts that should be achieved by the Christian teachers and leaders from their studying. We must first grow from just knowing to understanding the scripture. We need to understand the word approved and what it means. In the Greek, the word approved is an adjective. It's an adjective, meaning it is naming an attribute related to the noun thyself. So remember, it says in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, "Study to show thyself approved." Thyself approved. The noun is thyself. The adjective is the approved. So the adjective is naming, approved is naming the noun thyself in 2 Timothy. It's giving the attribute, it's naming the attribute of the noun thyself in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. So the adjective approved in the Greek is describing the noun thyself as someone who has studied. This means that the act of studying is required in order to be approved. Let me say this again. The act of studying is required in order to be approved in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. But it does not stop there. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15 continues identifying, describing what is required to be approved, to be a workman, a laborer. Interestingly, in the Greek, the word workman or laborer can either mean righteous or unrighteous work or labor. Notice, it does not leave us guessing as to which it is in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. It clarifies the work of labor done would not be shameful or unrighteous. So, by studying, it allows one to be approved by Elohim because the studying, the work, the labor would not be shameful. Lastly, the litmus test of whether or not one is approved, whether or not their work, labor is righteous, is determined by whether or not one can rightly divide the word of truth. Now, once again, let us grow from just knowing to understanding what rightly dividing means in this passage. The Vine's Expository Dictionary has this to say about rightly dividing. It says, what is intended here is not dividing Scripture from Scripture, but teaching Scripture accurately. Wow. Let me say this again. The Vine's Expository Dictionary has this to say about rightly dividing. What is intended here is not dividing Scripture from Scripture, but teaching Scripture accurately. In 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15 gives a comprehensive definition of the scriptural purpose of studying and the benefits byproduct of studying. In addition to defining the scriptural purpose and benefits byproduct of studying in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15, we cannot miss, please don't let us miss, it actually identifies who should be studying. And it is all believers, not just the Christian teachers and leaders. All believers should be studying. It is of paramount importance that we all understand this, because not just teachers and leaders should be benefiting spiritually from studying. Each and every one that is a believer should be self-reflecting on, am I working and laboring righteously? Am I able to rightly divide the word of truth, understanding and or teaching Scripture accurately? And if I am, I should be able to assess if there are any spiritual benefits, byproducts possessed by Christian teachers and leaders. With what we have grown to understand, it is possible to see why the question appears to be silly, idiotic, of why do Christian teachers and leaders study? With what we've grown to understand, it's possible to see why that question appears to be silly and idiotic. Remember, we addressed the filters of assuming to already know the answer to why Christian teachers and leaders study. The indoctrination of our perception of Christian teachers and leaders, and presuming we already know what the actual results are of the studying done by the Christian teachers and leaders. But when we turn these filters off, it is revealed that the studying being done by Christian teachers and leaders does not produce the general consensus of the purpose for studying, nor produces the benefits, the byproducts that should be gained from studying. Contrarily, when those filters are not turned off, it can appear the answer to why Christian teachers and leaders study is self-evident. Because of Christian indoctrination, we assume we already know the answer. Because of our perception of those considered to be Christian teachers and leaders, we believe they are enlightening their followers with scriptural truth. So we presume the results of their studying is beneficial, is positive. Sadly, with what we've grown to understand, the answer to our posed question is drastically different than what most have expected. The answer as to why Christian teachers and leaders study seems to be more about Christian teachers and leaders having been indoctrinated themselves into Christianity, and they now, as teachers and leaders, then study how they can influence, cajole, entice others into the Christianity indoctrination. This is not studying to show oneself approved unto Elohim, as is instructed by the Apostle Paul in 2 Timothy 2:15. The studying being done by Christian teachers and leaders is what the Apostle Paul warned against in Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. So let us read. Colossians chapter 2, verse 8 reads, "Beware, beware, beware, lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after the Messiah," not after Christ. It is of paramount importance that we know why the Christian teachers and leaders are studying. It's of paramount importance that we understand why they're studying. Understanding the reasoning Christian teachers and leaders study should determine whether or not we entertain any of their philosophies and or traditions. Equally as important is that you study to show yourself approved, rightly dividing, accurately teaching the word of truth. I would like to invite you to continue to fellowship and worship the Sabbath with the Ecclesia next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. In addition, please join the Ecclesia every Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for prayer. The link for both is provided on his servant's website. Something to think about. If you're seeking a blessing, be a blessing. If this message of something to think about has been a blessing, assist us with your time, talents, and finances in continuing to grow and move from just knowing to truly understanding the word of the Most High, Yahweh Elohim. Peace and blessings.